No, 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 no. Not then. Not again. We need to run.
No, we need to fight. Get ready.
Hello, Mr. Steve.
Abdullah, how are you?
I'm good.
Greetings to Kuwait.
Thanks. And the community in the MENA region also. I'm very honored to meet you, Mr. Steve, Master Chief, John 117.
Well, the honor is all mine, we're obviously you're getting me at a time where we're very excited about what the next month is going to bring us, and we're waiting with bated breath, as they say.
Yeah, it will bring the infinite on us.
Yeah, indeed.
All right. This interview will be like just questions.
That's okay. That's good.
But
I look forward to it.
we will start like in easy questions. What has changed in Master Chief character from Halo Combat Evolve to the present day in Halo Infinite? And will we see a change in his perspective on things or more mature Master Chief?
Well, I think in terms of the chief, what has changed in him, and obviously this is just my perspective, but I think what has changed in him from 20 years ago, that hopefully, like all of us, we're a little older and a little wiser. And I think as the games progressed over the years, I think we got to know him on a deeper level. And I think more of his character, while some of those character traits were always there, they weren't necessarily revealed. And I think with each passing game, we got a wider and deeper perspective on just who this guy is and what makes him tick. And from an acting point of view, from an actor point of view, that has made him, with each passing game, it's made him more interesting to me, and also the character revelations have been very helpful to me in terms of trying to interpret, what is going on here and what makes him the way he is.
Let's go back 20 years. How did Mr. Steve get in the role of a Master Chief?
Well, it's one of those bizarre coincidences, to be honest with you. It's needless to say, it's the biggest role of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And coincidentally, it's the only role that I never auditioned for, which is that's the bizarre part about it for me. I was my main career, sort of my bread and butter for 40 some years, was being a radio disc jockey in various cities around the country. And I happened to be in Chicago back in the early 90s, and Bungie, who were the creators of Halo, were based in Chicago at the time. And Marty O'Donnell, who cast all the voices for the Bungie games, wrote all the music, most of the music, performed much of the music. He also happened to be a fan of mine on the radio, unbeknownst to me, of course. And he contacted me, this had to be in 1990, I believe, and asked me to if I would do a little bit in a small game, small little PC game called Septerra Core. Mm-hmm. And I had a small role in that. I did it. About a year later, he called again and said, "We have another game that we think you'd be right for, and it's the main role in the game. And again, would I be interested in doing it?" And I believe my response was, "What's it pay?" and anyway, so it just started from there. I came in. I never auditioned for it. We set the recording date. I came in. Marty and I had a very long discussion about what Halo was all about and what Master Chief was all about, to try to give me some, direction on how to approach this character. And off we went. And, the rest, as they say, is history.
All right. Interesting. So, did you expect during your work in the first game this success that the series got till this today?
Not even close. I wasn't,
Oh,
and I would suggest that Bungie didn't know as well how big this thing was going to be. When I recorded Combat Evolved, it was probably a 2 or 3 day session, I think. And then I completely forgot about it because, you know, the for a voice actor, certainly a commercial voice actor, the way you know whether or not the project you were involved with was a success is a direct relation to what they call residual checks. Because in commercial work, the more the commercial runs, the more you get paid. Well, in video game work, it's not that way. It's there are no residuals in video games. So once I did the session, I completely forgot about it. It was completely out of my mind. And it wasn't until many months later, and I was visiting a friend down in Florida, and his kids were playing the game, and I walked through the living room, and it jogged my memory, and I said, "Oh, you know what? I think I recorded a character in that game." And they asked me who it was, and I couldn't remember his name. I couldn't remember who the character that I recorded. I said, I can't remember his name, but I'm pretty sure he was the main guy in the game. And they said, Master Chief. I said, yeah, it was Master Chief. So 20, 30 minutes go by. Every kid in the neighborhood is at the front door carrying an Xbox or a copy of the game, wanting it to get signed. And that was my first inclination that this thing was much bigger than I could possibly have imagined. And it only grew from there.
continue with that. You said that the first edition was Septracol.
Yes.
All right. It was in 1999.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Did I say 1990? I meant 1999. Yeah.
So 1999. So did you expect one day that this field will grow and become one of the largest entertainment field?
And again, no clue. You know, I wasn't a gamer at the time. I'm still really not a gamer. You know, I'm the worst Halo player you'll ever come across. So I had no idea. I mean, the whole video game industry has grown. To say it's grown by leaps and bounds would be an understatement. I mean, it's just exponentially become a major entertainment force in the entire world. And it's just, I'm still, you know, 20 years on, I'm still amazed, you know, when I watch how this industry has grown into what it's, and the fan base that has come along with it, it's astounding. And to me, it's become, you know, not only a significant force in the entertainment industry, I think it's a leading force now and influences all the other, you know, movies and television and all that, I think are directly influenced by what's happening in the video game world.
Let's say from Halo Combat Evolve to Halo Guardians. So what is your favorite part of the series in which you felt the feeling of the character and was the perfect experience for you?
My favorite part, without question, was the recording and the process of Halo 4.
Okay.
Halo 4 was the first game under the 343 umbrella.
Yes.
Bungie was no longer involved. We were working with, for the most part, a whole new crew, and a very different approach to the story part of the game. What excited me about it was a couple of things. First of all, the recording process. It's the first time that Jen Taylor, the voice of Cortana, and I had ever worked together in the same room at the same time. In fact, Jen and I had never even met until, well, it was the 10th anniversary of Combat Evolved. And they were throwing a big party out in Seattle to celebrate the 10th anniversary. And they flew me out. And Jen lives in Seattle, so she was there. And it's the first time we ever met. And so being able to work with her directly in the same room in really and have a dialogue as we were recording was a thrill for me. And I think it also helped me tremendously in how I approach the character. And the other thing that makes Halo 4 special to me is the storyline. You first of all, I had more lines. So anytime I have more lines is that's a plus for me. But it was the development of the story between Cortana and Master Chief that, when we had finished Halo 3, I felt there was so much left. When Halo 3 was over and Halo Reach was over, there was no guarantee there was going to be anything beyond that. And so I remember leaving those sessions, especially the Halo 3 sessions, and thinking, wow, there's just this big story, especially between Master Chief and Cortana that we haven't even scratched the surface yet. And then when I got a look at the script for Halo 4, I was thrilled because we were going to dig a little deeper into what I think is a very complicated and complex relationship between those two characters.
One question from a fan of you, Mr. Steve. He said that why in your bio you did not update that you are the hero in the Halo Infinite?
Oh, that's probably true. I probably did not update, but I am in. If the point of the question is, did I record for Halo Infinite? Yes, I did.
Yeah,
I am the voice of Master Chief in Halo Infinite. I can reveal that much.
Oh, you can reveal that much. All right. So, one novel that you, I remember that there was one novel that you did the voiceover for it, but it's like just a small part of it. How did you see this experience, and do you consider to do more of that? Like an audio
the
for
audio
it?
books.
Yeah,
Yes,
the audiobook, yeah.
The Taylor Denning books, yes, or Troy Denning. I mean, I did a segment in his two most recent books, Silent Storm, and I'm looking at my bookshelf now, and I can't. The other title's escaping me. We did that as a kind of a promotion for the book when the book first came out. There's another person that does the narration of the whole book. I enjoyed it tremendously, and whether or not I would actually record an entire book, it's funny. I was just asked this question recently. I all they have to do is ask because it would be fun to do. I love the books. The book, all the books are such a rich resource for me as an actor to approach this character, especially in the early days when the character, when there wasn't much revealed about him. When I read Fall of Reach, for example, it so fleshed out that story for me, and it gave me such more material to approach going into recording the next time we went in to do a session for Halo. So I love that part of it, and I love all the other things outside of the game, the comic books, the animation stuff, the forthcoming TV series next year. I mean, all of that is just this rich fountain of information and stuff for me to flesh that character out even more.
Can we say that you are in some way involved in the TV series that's coming up?
I am not. I am not involved. Jen is. Jen is very definitely involved in as Cortana in the upcoming TV series, but I am not. There's another gentleman whose name should be on the tip of my tongue at this moment, who will be portraying Master Chief, but I will. I'm not involved in the TV series.
Back to the book. If you prefer to do it, which book you will choose to do the narrator?
Well, I would choose. Yeah, I would choose Fall of Reach for sure. That's my favorite.
Right.
But I have read the two Troy Denning books, and I like them a lot. And again, he's able to, he advances the story, but he also will go back. In one of his books, he takes the point of view a lot of Sergeant Johnson, and you begin to understand that character a little better. And I found that to be very interesting, especially the relationship between Johnson and the Chief. which was there was more to that relationship than perhaps the games may have let on at the time.
I know on voiceover industry or the actor of voiceover sometimes use deeper tone or higher tone for their voice and the character. I can notice that you always use a deeper tone for Master Chief.
Yes.
Is there an idea behind it?
Something along these lines, you mean? Something along the lines of, I need a weapon.
Exactly.
That was just a choice. When Marty first brought me in to do the first game, we talked about the character. I didn't even have a visual representation of what Master Chief looked like when I did my first recording session. It was strictly built on the conversation between Marty O'Donnell and myself. And so he described who this guy was, that he was the super soldier, that he didn't say much, but when he did, somebody usually died. So, but the reference he gave me, which ended up being the launching point for my decisions on how to approach the character, was the actor Clint Eastwood. And he talked about Clint Eastwood his roles in the old, what we call spaghetti westerns, for a few dollars more and for a fistful of dollars, and to some extent the Dirty Harry films that he made. And he sort of, we talked about what, Clint Eastwood and his choices when he did those movies. And if you remember, in both of those, especially in the westerns, he didn't talk much, and when he did, guns usually started blazing. So that was my launching point for making decisions on how to approach Master Chief. And coming in a lower register was just we played around with some different reads, and Marty liked that one, and I was comfortable with it, and that's where we stayed. Right. By the way, I want to mention one thing. Pablo Schreiber is the actor who's portraying Master Chief in the Halo television show next year.
All right.
Hi, Pablo. Sorry.
All right. So let's speak about Halo Infinite. As long as you can.
Okay.
We will not spoil the game for the whole community that's waiting for Halo Infinite. And just like 1 month, and we will be handing over Halo Infinite and
yes, indeed,
playing as a Master Chief. So how did you see the development of Halo Infinite?
Well, it was a long, both intentionally and unintentionally, it was a long process. Part of it was intentional because I should say, the developers and the writers and the director were coming at it from a different perspective. And then B, the pandemic made it longer. I mean, we started, in past Halo games, like in Halo 4 and 5, my recording process was probably 3 months, 4 months, maybe tops. Not, every day working on it, but, I'd come in for 3 or 4 sessions, and then a month later I come back for another 3 or 4 sessions, and then there's redos and script changes and all that. This Halo Infinite, my first session in Halo Infinite was the spring of 2019. So we did some sessions in 2019, picked it up again in 2020 after the holidays, and then the pandemic hit. And everything shut down. The studios shut down, Microsoft studios shut down, recording studios shut down, and there was a lot of people working from home. And so the whole thing had to be reimagined. And the recording process alone, for example, I live in Florida, and Seattle is on literally the other opposite end of the country, and I would go out to Seattle to record. Well, that wasn't possible anymore. I mean, for the longest time, you couldn't even fly, even if there was a studio open, unless I wanted to drive there. So I have a small studio in my home, and we had to sort of reconfigure that. It's a decent studio, but it's not, what I was, using a multi-million-dollar facility in Seattle, Washington. So we had to get some equipment in here because we wanted to make it a seamless match in terms of what I had done over the past year and a half and what I was going to do going forward had to sound exactly the same. So we brought some new equipment in, tested some things out, did some test runs, and we're able to get it so, when the game comes out, I would defy anybody to be able to tell the difference between what was recorded in Seattle and what was recorded in my closet in Sarasota, Florida, which is literally where it was. So the process just made it a much longer time frame than it would have been normally. But it also gave us a chance, I think. I can certainly speak from the audio part of it, the voiceover part, to take a look at some things we had done early on, and maybe rework them or try different things. And when you have that much time, you can sort of take a look at, okay, well, maybe what we thought we were getting, now maybe we want to go in a slightly different direction. Mm-hmm. And I had a great writer director, a guy by the name of Paul Crocker, who co-wrote the story and directed most of the voiceover talent in the making of Infinite. And him and I just got along tremendously, and he had such a great understanding of the Halo story and the approach to Master Chief. We were so on the same page with that it made it not only easier, but I felt like I had what do I want to say, like a confidant or somebody who got it, and he felt comfortable with me. He trusted me, and I trusted him. And I think what I hope, we haven't seen it yet, but what I hope is that the results of that kind of collaboration will be evident in what you'll see in the cutscenes and the cinematics to Infinite.
All right. Quick questions. Why they call it Infinite?
That is a good question, and I have no idea. But now that you ask it, Abdullah, I'm sorry that I didn't ask somebody over the last 2 years. By the way, why are we calling it Infinite? I don't know.
Yeah, I can't agree calling Halo 5 supposed to be 5 Guardians because of the story. So Infinite could be because of the story.
Well, it certainly could be. It also could be in how it's going to be approached in the future. It may not be the same approach as has been in the past. That's probably as far as I can go with that one. But
I get it.
Let's put it this way, Abdullah: the possibilities are
infinite. From Halo 4, Halo 5, or the whole series, just like a sandbox missions, and you can go complete the objective, complete the mission, and you end the story. It's a little bit strict narrative, linear game. With Infinite, they went with an open world adventure, or an open world experience for the Master Chief. So how do you see that in mirror to the story or the narrative itself as the Master Chief?
I don't, again, that may be wading into an area that I'm not completely comfortable talking about, but not to be corny, but it does present infinite possibilities, and that's a little corny, but I don't know that I can explore that question in the depth that would be meaningful to you.
All right.
That may be something we're going to have to wait another 29 days for.
Yeah, sure. I'm waiting. Okay.
Patiently.
Impatiently. At the end, can you give us a message for your fans in Middle East and what they expect from the upcoming Halo Infinite?
Yes. I think, first of all, thank you would be the first message I would give any fan all over the world for making this game the success long term that has been over the years. And I know that we've gone through some fits and starts over the years, and certainly over the past couple of years, and that the game has been a long time coming, and we hoped it would have been out much sooner than this. Forces, some within our control, some not in our control, had other ideas. So I would thank the fans for their patience, and know that the creators and developers of this game are, first of all, they're a hardy bunch, and they're a devoted bunch, and they want to deliver the best possible experience they can for the fans. And from what I've seen, I just can't wait for you to see it, because I think it's this could be the best yet. I think from a story perspective, and from a game playing perspective, and from a visual perspective, all three of those things, there are going to be elements about this game that are going to remind you of, I often tell people, if you loved Halo 3, I think you're going to really, really love Halo Infinite. But that's not to suggest that it's a redo or that it's nostalgic, and it's neither one of those. But I think it's a good connection to that period, while also being moving the story forward through 4 and 5, and now into Infinite. And what has impressed me about it is that, to be able to tackle both of those, past and present and future, and meld them into a cohesive story and approach. I think that will justify the period of time it's taken for this game to come out. But that's what that's how it feels, to me. Now, needless to say, I'm a little biased, but I think that as we have an expression in this country about leaving it all on the field, or maybe leaving it all on the pitch, maybe a better reference for you. But the point is that all the blood, sweat, and tears are going to be evident in what you're going to see and play when this game finally hits the streets.
All right. Before this interview, I just remember that. Before this interview, I was playing Halo 4.
Ah.
Okay, yeah. And I want to ask a tricky question. Did you fulfill your promise?
As the chief, or as Steve Downs?
As the chief.
So I'm gonna let me see if I think I know where you're coming from. Well, there are.
To make it easier, Cortana told you.
You ask a good question.
Cortana told you.
In a way that won't get me in trouble. But
Cortana told you, don't promise a girl. So, did you fulfill your promise?
Yes.
All right. I'm very honorable to meet you, Mr. Steve. And I wish if we had, especially for Al Hub fans, a one line from the chief himself.
To all the fans, wake me when you need me.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Abdullah, thank you very much. It's been a thrill to be able to speak to you, and also to be able to talk to everybody on the other side of the world. And I'm very proud that we've been able to put together a game that appeals in the global perspective that it does. And it's moves my heart to know that we have fans over there that love the game as much as we do, and I do.
Yeah, we too. Mr. Steve, thank you for your time. I know you are in a busy period preparing for Halo. Just like the last touch, maybe they will call you to add a line, remove a line, or whatever. Yeah, they could.
I think we're all done with that. But now it's just a matter of getting the word out to, and that's why I was happy that you reached out, because you know, we want to share our enthusiasm. So we're very excited. I've said recently that we're in the 13th month of a 9-month pregnancy, and this baby's got to come out.
Yeah. See you in Halo Infinite.
Indeed. We'll see you on Infinite.